Now, Trump's FEMA director is cutting schools loose. Just yesterday, FEMA announced that they're not, after helping 3 districts, I think it was 3, they announced that they're not going to help pay for cloth masks, other PPE, or for school settings, cleaning those basic health needs for sanitize, everything from the laboratories to the classrooms, and safety costs for schools that don't qualify for emergency assistance. This is an emergency, Mr. President. This is an emergency. And Donald Trump and his FEMA should treat it as one. If I were president today, I'd direct FEMA to make sure that our kids K through 12 get full access to disaster relief and emergency assistance under the Stafford Act. I'd make sure that PPE and sanitation supplies for school qualify as emergency protective measures, which is a phrase they use, to fully be eligible for federal assistance. On top of that, I'd be working with the leaders of Congress now, today, to pass emergency packages for schools so they have the resources they need in order to be able to open safely. Money for ventilation. I heard that a lot when I had all those healthcare experts up on the Zoom. Money for ventilation and other health measures, but also more money to hire more teachers. Every recommendation we got was they should be dividing into pods, smaller classes. Smaller classes mean more educators are needed. Keeping classes socially distanced, small. Money for more psychologists and counselors. I introduced legislation a long time ago calling for, I proposed legislation a long time ago. We have one school psychologist every 1,507 children in school. And the health care, the mental health that our children need now, the anxiety they're feeling at home and going to school, not being able to go to school. The nation's superintendents of schools have estimated that they'll need at least $200 billion to support K through 12 schools throughout the year for safe reopening. And we need the money to hire educators as well for our four-year colleges and universities, for community colleges, for HBCUs, for minority-serving institutions. Democratic leaders are ready to get this done. They've already proposed such legislation. Mr. President, where are you? Where are you? Why aren't you working on this? We need emergency support funding for our schools, and we need it now. Mr. President, that's your job. That's your job. That's what you should be focused on now. Getting our kids back to school safely, keeping schools safely able to remain open once they open. Not whipping up fear and division, not inciting violence in our streets. Get off Twitter and start talking to the congressional leaders in both parties. Invite them to the Oval Office, and stop your boast about never being seen at what you can do anything. You always talk about your ability to negotiate. Negotiate a deal for somebody other than yourself. Now I'm happy to take questions you may have. I guess staff's going to call on whoever. Fire away.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. 2 quick questions for you, if I may. First, ahead of your trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow, last week your running mate, Senator Harris, said that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, based on what she has seen, should be charged. Do you agree with her, and do you also believe the same for the officers who were involved in the death of Breonna Taylor?
I think we should let the judicial system work its way. I do think there's a minimum need to be charged, the officers, and as well as Breonna Taylor. And I might add, by the way, I think what happened in Portland, where one of the Trump guys riding along in vans inciting response is shooting rubber bullets, I guess, or paintballs, apparently there was someone shot by someone in the crowd with a bullet, killed. I think that person should meet the legal requirements that whatever that calls for. We should be investigated, and it should follow through on what needs to be done. Let the judicial system work. Let's make sure justice is done.
And just quickly on a different topic, there's a new book by the New York Times' Michael Schmidt that says that when President Trump made an unannounced visit to Walter Reed Hospital in 2019, Vice President Pence was told to be on standby to take over in case President Trump had to receive anesthesia. Pence said last night that he doesn't recall being told that. As Vice President, were you ever told to be on standby or given, any kind of special alert when President Obama was going in for a medical appointment? And I also just wonder whether you have any concerns about the fact that that Walter Reed visit that President Trump made, it didn't follow, prior protocol about presidential visits for medical examinations.
I'm not going to speculate on what it means. What I can say is that nothing this administration does is normal. And so I'm not being facetious when I say that. So who in God's name knows what it's all about? I just don't know. I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. I'll let the experts do that. And the only time that I have been on notice is when the president's out of the country and I'm in the country. Not that I should wait for something to immediately be aware of anything, but that's something that might be called for. It wasn't called for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah.
On this visit to Kenosha tomorrow, local Democratic officials, including the governor, had previously discouraged President Trump from visiting. And just yesterday, the president of the local NAACP said he didn't want to see either of the candidates, including yourself, visit, that this is such a sensitive situation in the city. Why is now the right time for you to go to Kenosha, and what do you hope to accomplish tomorrow?
Well, we've spoken to all the leaders up there, and although I have an outstanding call with the governor, we dealt with the staff, because, and there's been overwhelming requests that I do come, because what we want to do is we got to heal, we got to put things together, bring people together. And so my purpose in going will